One. Live from sunny Central Florida, it's the Bobby Crawford Show, where liberalism is pathetic, conservatism is pretty cool, and if you're a single lady who likes politics, please give me a call. Let's go out sometime. Great to talk to y'all again. In this segment of the Bobby Crawford Show, I'm actually going to take you through what happened on the first day of the, we're going to take a look back at the 2014 North Carolina Republican Party Convention and what happened at the Friday business session. What happened was the session started at 1:30 that day, and they had, oh gosh, gotta love live radio sometimes. What happened was we started at 1:30. Okay, we had the host of the convention, Jackson County, Claude Pope, the chair of the North Carolina GOP. Had the auxiliary groups speak, young professional Republicans, college Republicans, teenage Republicans, District and County Chairmen's Association, North Carolina Federation of Republican Women, Republican National Hispanic Assembly of North Carolina. Then we have the convention officers, and then we have the report of the North Carolina House of Representatives and the report of the North Carolina Senate. And then there's this segment called Dearly Departed, which is where this year we had Claude Pope and Carolyn Justice, the chairman and the vice chair of the NCGOP, read off names of Republicans who had died the previous year. And that was a segment to give them sort of a proper send-off in that respect. And then at 3:15 to 4:30 we had the breakout sessions. These included a minority engagement forum as well as a breakout session with Lieutenant Governor Dan Forrest. Now, we come back at 4:30. And what happens is we have the report from the Credentials Committee, and credentials it's very can be laborious and very tedious because you have to verify that the people attending the convention are, one, registered to vote in North Carolina, but more importantly, number two, they are actual registered Republicans. And then you have to also look at, did they go through the proper protocol to be able to attend the state convention as a voting delegate. So in other words, the protocol is, did they go to their county convention and register as a delegate at the county level. And most counties in the state of North Carolina, if you attend a county convention, you're automatically allowed to go. And then, of course, you have to pay the delegate fee, too, which in 2014 was $75. Fortunately, though, a lot of people, including myself, raised a lot of cane about the delegate fee because it went from $40 in 2013. It went $35, in 2011, 2012. Then it went to $40 in 2013, but then last year it skyrocketed from $40 way up to $75. Okay? Now, the main purpose of this video is to tell you what happened at the business session on back on Friday, June 6th, 2014 at the convention. And this is going to be a little bit college textbook, kind of a lecture, but I promise you for Saturday I actually have sound bites of the various delegates from the floor of the convention. So the next segment is going to be a lot a lot more interesting than this segment, but I'll try to do my best for this segment to be interesting. Okay, so we did credentials, and unfortunately credentials are so darn tedious to do that you could give them I think registration closed around what time it closed about 1:30. Okay, 3 hours to get credentials together, and still there's always a delay, or there's always county chairman that well, hey, I'm chair of Johnston County, okay, and we have 4 delegates, but you only called 3. So by the time we actually got into doing convention business on Friday, it was 5:15 p.m. So we started with the report from the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee chair of 2014 was John Stewart, the 9th District chair. And he starts off with a hilarious joke. He says, hey, let's do some Common Core math. If County A has 6 delegates and they want to register 4, what is the color of their car? And that was a very hilarious joke, I must say. Now the Rules Committee, they had this change, and that was on the subject of resolutions. And for those of you who may not know convention terminology, a resolution is something that the convention attendees will bring forth to the audience of the convention delegates, to 800 to 1,000 people, and it could be a resolution honoring an elected official who passed away, or it could be something completely opposite. It could be something that says the elected official voted the wrong way on a bill and they need to be punished, or in politics we say censured for that. So the resolutions changed. There's a proposed change by John Seward and his committee. This was about 13 to 15 individuals from around the state. Their committee voted to change resolutions from being approved by a simple majority of the convention delegates to 2/3 majority. Now, there was opposition to this. However, it was only one delegate went on the convention floor and opposed this. And his name was Tom Heitman of New Hanover County. And he basically says, hey, look, we're here to do the business of the North Carolina Republican Party, and these resolutions should still pass by a simple majority. Okay, and I agreed with him, and I voted no on this proposal by the Rules Committee. Unfortunately, though, it passed overwhelmingly. And basically what I mean by vote no is what they do is, first they do a voice vote. You say aye if you want to change from simple majority to 2/3 majority, and you say nay if you don't. And unfortunately there are a lot more ayes on the floor than there were nays on the floor. Now, I voted no because you look at something like Obamacare, okay? Guess what? It passed in the House of Representatives by 7 votes, okay? Only 7 votes. And then guess what? It was approved or upheld by the Supreme Court by a 5-4 simple majority. So again, the Rules Committee has now decided, and unfortunately the convention body voted, to make resolutions a lot harder to pass. And I'm still puzzled by how in the world this was actually approved. But then again, on Friday's the first day of the convention. A lot of people have not arrived. Some people have just gotten to the convention floor when the vote on this takes place. And some of them, they just get there and they don't even know what they're voting on. So now we move to the plan of organization. And the first thing that was discussed was endorsing candidates in primaries. Now, we have a lot of debate and a lot of point of information, which a point of information is, it can be called by a delegate at any time, and basically it's a way of asking a question to the convention chair, okay? Now, unfortunately, what happens sometimes on a point of information is that a person can enter into debate. In other words, they could say, point of information, what color is the sky? And the convention chair will say blue. Or they might abuse point of information and say, is the sky blue? Is the sky blue? Whoa, I thought it was gray. Are you saying it's blue? What? So that's a way of abusing point of information. Now, back to this endorsing candidates and primaries. A point of information was called first, and the question was, what is the discipline for not following Amendment 1, Section 7G2? So what is discipline for not following the following? Here's what the delegate was referring to. It says, neither the chairman nor vice chairman of the state executive committee nor the chairman or vice chairman of any county, judicial, senatorial, house, or congressional district organization, nor any paid employee of the North Carolina Republican Party shall endorse any candidate running in a Republican primary or volunteer or work on the campaign of any candidate involved in a Republican primary. The answer to what is discipline for not following what I just read is a very simple answer by Convention Chair Billy Miller. The answer is a removal from the office. You know, whether you're a chairman of a county, of a district, whatever position you hold in the North Carolina Republican Party, if you publicly say, my name is Bobby Crawford, I'm the chair of this 7th District Republican Party, and I'm endorsing Greg Brannon in the U.S. Senate primary, then that would be cause for losing your title of district chair in that particular case. There was we entered into debate against, well, first, let me see, the current language of this was refrain from utilizing powers of office in a Republican primary. It says each officer and each member of the state executive committee shall refrain from utilizing the powers and dignity of his or her office or any position in any Republican primary for public office at any level. Basically, this proposed amendment, I'm not going to read it all to you because you'll get very bored fast with it, but it adds more teeth to this. We cannot endorse in primaries. Now, there was debate against this amendment. First, it started off with Maura McHugh of Craven County. Maura pointed out that Section 7G7, she had problems with the, it says here, in the event of extraordinary circumstances, including without limitation a candidate seeking a Republican nomination whose extreme views or criminal background could damage the reputation of the Republican Party and its other candidates, a committee organized under this plan can apply for a waiver to any or all of the provisions in this article in order to permit such committee and its chair and vice chair to communicate to Republican voters that a particular candidate is not recommended. And she said again, whose extreme views? And then she says, what are these extreme views? This is a very kind of not very cut and dry amendment. And then she says, look, this is a transfer of power from local political parties to the state party. Because this whole apply for a waiver and that sort of thing. Now, a point of information was then called by the chair of the Gates County Republican Party, Thomas Hill, who is a very, very good guy, in my opinion. He basically says, hey, well, okay, so the chair and the vice chair they can't endorse in primaries, but he says, hey, can the secretary and the treasurer, can they endorse in primaries? And the answer from the committee was that the state plan of organization goes over the county plan. Now, Jack Brosh from Mecklenburg County, he's claim to fame was he ran for chairman unsuccessfully in 2013. He says, when was the last time a person has been removed for a plan of organization violation? And the answer is Richard Morgan from Moore County back in 2006. Now, Michael Lyons from Macon County wanted to strike section G5 and G6, which reads, if an affiliated group, such as the Republican Women's or Men's Federation, issues a primary endorsement, then that group shall immediately forfeit its right to name designees to the central and executive committees for the remainder of the election cycle in which the endorsement occurs, and designees named by the group to these committees shall deemed to have automatically resigned from these committees, and their absence shall not effect quorum. The subsection above shall also apply to any county, judicial, senatorial, house, or congressional district organization where that organization's plan provides for representation on committees from designees of affiliated organizations, provided that the actions of local affiliated groups shall not cause the removal of any state organization or federation related to such local affiliated clubs from the central committee and executive committee if such state organization or federation has not issued a primary endorsement. Quite a mouthful. But again, I agree with Michael, what Mr. Lyons was trying to do, and that is basically, hey, the state party's taking too much power away from these Republican women, young Republicans, all these different auxiliary groups that you have, and that they can't make endorsements. So, now we have the opposition of the amendment. Steve Rader from Beaufort County, the eastern part of the state, says, look, we have all this meddling already from outside primaries, all these quasi-GOP and national groups. And he says, hey, look, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, he spends wads of money in these primaries too. And then he says, hey, Walter Jones, the DC establishment spent $1.4 million to try and defeat him. And then he says, hey, the Republican Executive Committee of the state of Louisiana, they issued a U.S. Senate endorsement. So he says, look, we got to oppose this amendment for those reasons, because already people are doing these endorsements and primaries under the table. But then we have debate that people want to approve the amendment. And here we have Dr. Ida Fisher, who is the National Committee woman for the state of North Carolina. And she says, outside groups, they do interfere, but inter-party endorsements are detrimental to the party. And then we have opposition. This is from an African-American lady from Rockingham County. I did not get her name, unfortunately. But she says, if I am a member of the gospel, can't endorse, I am gaggling the local grassroots. And then she has a Bible verse that says, know those who labor among us. Now, that does not mean I can't have a bumper sticker on my car. And then we have a delegate from Forsyth County, the Winston-Salem area, says, hey, look, the county sometimes has to take position, and the county should think for itself. I could not agree more on that. Good job, Forsyth County. And then there's a question asked by the representative from Forsyth County that says, hey, look, would Governor McCrory violate this with his endorsement of Tom Tillis? And then, because each member of the state executive committee includes elected officials. And then they said, well, he's the governor, and technically, he's not a member of the state executive committee because he's not a House rep or a senator. He's the governor, so he kind of has this special privilege. And a lot of folks, including myself, are kind of puzzled that the establishment of the NCGOP would kind of give McCrory a pass on that. But then again, he's the governor, and it is what it is, I guess. Now, John from Moore County supports this amendment of endorsing primaries. He says, hey, look, the plan of organization is very restrictive, or in the case that the plan of organization is very vague and very basic. And he thinks that this is an honest attempt to clarify the rules. And then, let's see here. This was ultimately voted on. The vote was, there was a motion made to defer this to the next convention, which is in 2015, this year in Raleigh. And the vote was taken, and 162 people voted to defer this to the next convention. And then we had 120 people vote no. And honestly, I was on the fence. I did not vote on this particular thing because I thought both sides ultimately made very good, compelling cases. But now I look back in retrospect, and I have to be honest with you, I think if people are, if Karl Rove, Mark Zuckerberg, all these other outside groups are already endorsing candidates under the table, then you know what? I say, hey, look, if John from Franklin County wants to endorse Tom Tillis, and Steve from Brunswick County wants to endorse Greg Brandon, then you know what? I say have at it. Let the chairs work hard for their candidates, just like, you know, all the other Republicans who are just Republicans and do not hold a particular title in the Republican Party. So, at 6:30, we had a motion to dismiss. Now, the good news is we actually had quorum. We had 380 delegates out of 500 delegates that were sticking around. Now, in the past, what's happened is somebody calls quorum, and already we don't meet the requirement. Now, quorum, for those of you who don't know, is you have to have at least more than 50% of registered delegates that are on the convention floor. So in other words, if I register Friday afternoon, I go to the convention, okay, I stay till about 4 o'clock, okay, but then I go back to my hotel room, and quorum is called at 6. I am not counted in the quorum, okay? Now, we had quorum, but unfortunately a motion to dismiss was overwhelmingly approved by the delegates, but myself, Tom Heitman, and Jay Vicks, who's a great friend of mine. He now lives in Virginia, but last year he was representing Brunswick County as a delegate. He also voted no to dismiss. So anyway, that concludes the Friday, what happened on Friday at the convention. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. And I had some liner music, but you know what? I'm just going to say goodbye for now, and hopefully stay tuned. I should have shortly, next day or two, share with you what happened on Saturday at the convention. Okay? You've been listening to The Bobby Crawford Show.